You think this is where life starts. Cash, income, get in the bag. That is exactly why you stay stuck. You don't have a money problem. You have a value problem. You have a leadership problem. You have a clarity problem. And in today's video, we're going to fix that for you. Welcome to Phase 4, aka Episode 4 of the Ascension Ladder Cash Flow Edition. Let's get into today's video. And we're back, baby. See that chart? Oh, what's the question mark up there? None of your business, not yet. Here's your problem. You want to skip steps all the time. Why don't you just be where your feet are at? Which is this video. We started off with Phase 1, which was the body, getting to the best shape of your life naturally, because we don't do anything to neuter our spirit. And especially if you're here now, you understand why we don't do it that way. Phase 2, being your identity, actually walking into your authentic self, having your own standards, having your own opinions on things. And then Episode 3, aka Phase 3, we talked about leadership and how your presence as a human being is that of someone who people feel stronger around. Your presence actually makes people feel stronger. That's what it's all about. However, today is about Phase 4 of the process. Cash flow, a necessary part of life. But understand something, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. You understand? And I mean that. This is not like a video is gonna, I'm gonna make 10K in 3 hours. No, this is about getting paid for who you actually are for the rest of your life. And it's actually anti-bullshit, believe it or not. It's anti-bullshit. That's what makes this process so beautiful, because you will get paid forever for being exactly who you are and what you're actually able to deliver on. Just being yourself as a human being. That is why we had the body, the identity, the leadership, because as you can see, when you go through those episodes, you probably notice like, holy cow, this is actually really starting to click. This is where now you have built up the internal to where the external can now manifest much easier into your hands, which is the cash flow. And so what we're going to do is explain a few things that has your head messed up, because as I said in the very beginning of this video, you don't have a money problem, you have a value problem. You have a leadership problem. You have a clarity problem, because you have been sold a bunch of bullshit about how this actually works. And just like the fitness and self-improvement and manosphere space that I like to shit on quite often, the money space is not just as rotten, possibly even more from what I've seen. It's absolutely garbage, absolutely soulless. And because you lack clarity and you have a clarity problem, let's look up some money lies, because we have to break these preconceived notions that you have. We have to break them. And we'll do a nice little dash list. Who doesn't like, honestly, I'm feeling the whiteboard. Okay, I'm feeling the whiteboard nowadays. I like writing out stuff. I'm really starting to get into the groove on this. Side hustles. Timing the market. Passive income. More revenue streams. The reason why I write these is because side hustle. The side hustle, oh, I need to do this and I can get a little bit of money and then I can fund the real thing that I want to do. It's not how that works, because when you're thinking of side hustle, you in your head are thinking, how can I just get quick money without actually delivering value? Because what is money? Money, all it is, and I'm actually gonna write this down, is an exchange of value. The problem is everything has gotten so warped and so messed up that we forget that all money is an exchange of value, and everyone's trying to hack it for digital dollars inside. That's why the most common one that I see is timing the market, because obviously crypto and in general options trading, people are just trying to get lucky. Everyone's just gambling all the time, and they wonder why they feel soulless. Passive income. Oh my gosh, this one. Before you've ever even worked on active income, why don't you try to get active with your income before you start worrying about how can I make it passive? Even then, passive income requires activity. There's no such thing as sitting idly by and collecting. Maybe back in the day, but not for us. And we have to play according to the rules of the game. And as the chessboard and the pieces on that board, I play my hand. Then, more revenue streams. This whole idea, I remember the first time I ever heard about this. I'm like, oh, if I just get a bunch of revenue streams, that equates to better. No, because you can have one revenue stream that destroys someone that has 12. It's no different than a piece of content. If you have one piece of content that reaches 1 million views, for example, technically that's more than posting 10 pieces of content that only get 1,000 views each. It's a little bit different in terms of that, because there's reasons behind the content, how you want it to deliver. But point is you need to have that understanding. More doesn't equate to better. That just means you're scattered and you don't even know what works. But focusing on how to do something really well, just in one thing, starting one at a time, will teach you how to have more revenue streams in the future that you can then expound on. But please understand this. Money is an exchange of value. Therefore, if you are someone of value, you're always going to have money. Doesn't matter if the money system moves back into cattle, which is the first form of currency. It won't matter to you. I don't care if we move to pesos, the Chinese dollar. That's what anti-fragile is all about. It doesn't matter. If you know how to deliver value for people, and value is such a broad word, but that's why it's actually not as difficult as you made it out to be. Value can be in the tripod that I'm recording on. This is a value to someone like me, who doesn't have someone that could just record me just going through all this stuff all the time. That's valuable. Doesn't have to be this grandiose vision. I'm a grandiose kind of guy in terms of like how I like to imagine stuff. But point is you don't have to make it as complicated as you think. It just needs to serve a purpose in solving a problem. But this cocktail that you see over here, you know what it causes you to think? It makes you think that you are entitled. It causes you to be a lot more confused, and it gives you decision paralysis. Or action paralysis, I should say. Because you're looking at it, you're like, oh, but which one should I do? There's the right answer. Which one's the right one? That's not how life works. The reason why I write this out is because I had to remember what it was like when I was just really looking at this stuff and I cared so much. I remember looking at all this stuff. And I just ended up realizing it was complete and utter bullshit. Now that I look back and I realize, I'm like, what is money? It's an exchange of value. And that's what we'll get into, is how you actually can find that for yourself a lot easier than you made it out to be. You don't have to go surfing through the internet trying to find the next side hustle that, oh, what's the next gold rush? You don't need to do all that shit. That's for the posers. Let the losers do that. You ain't a loser. Well, technically every man is born a loser, but that's because our process is geared towards us losing. But we can turn ourselves into winners. That's what's so cool about being a dude, is you can simply wake up and decide to be a winner. And it takes one win, legitimately. It takes one good idea, one decision, and one run to change your entire life. This is your generational run. So with that said, this is just a beginner. Let's define what cash flow is. Speaking of cash flow, my freaking haircut lady is going to take care of that for me, because this hair is getting way too long, dude. Honestly, I need to get a stinking haircut. See, that's a value of exchange. Someone needs to cut my hair and I can't do it myself. See what I'm saying? And we're going to define what cash flow is, okay? We'll start from over here. I got the barbell over here. Skills, problem, people, offer, cash flow. That's all it is. Your skill, the problem you're solving, the people you're serving, and the offer on the table. That's business. Simply put, that is business. Cash flow is just money that keeps showing up because you keep solving problems for people. That's it. It's skills that are applied to problem served for people through an offer. And that's how you keep getting paid, is because you keep on doing that over and over and over again. So the question you need to be asking yourself are, what the hell are my skills? Versus, what system should I hack? Dude, I know what it's like. It's extremely frustrating, but you need to just nip that in the ass. Don't listen to people like this. The only reason why they make money is because you are naive. And that's okay, but not after today. We're not doing that shit anymore. What are your actual skills? How the hell can you actually help somebody? Care about the person you're serving. It's unbelievable, because we all like to think money is this grandiose thing. And honestly, it comes from, growing up in a middle-class home or even lower. That's when they talk about, like the rich mindset and stuff. What they're just trying to say is, like, they don't look at it the way we look at it. Like the Midwest people, it's like, well, you show up to a job and you get paid a paycheck, but how do you actually deliver business? How do you deliver value? Your value as an employee is showing up and doing what they want you to do on paper. It's no difference, right? But when you're trying to solve your actual problems for other people as a business owner with real cash flow, you need skills. And that means, what do I actually possess that will actually help people? Through this, what skills do I have to solve their problems for the people I care to serve and that I genuinely believe I'll be able to help through my offer? And that's how cash flow happens. That's it. You see how that works? It's not crazy. And honestly, it's funny because I don't see a lot of people that just write it out this simple, but it makes sense for you. It's like, really, what skills do I possess that can actually help somebody? That's all it is. That's all business is. You're helping out somebody with something. Sometimes you might think like, well, like we think of it as like this crazy thing, but I like the altruistic thing. Like, I want to be able to genuinely impact someone's life. And that helps me because that's just how I'm wired. Some people are much more product oriented. That's still a skill and a problem you're solving through people with an offer. And so what we're gonna do is tie this all back to our chart that got us all started in this mess. Think about it. Kind of crazy. We've already been through what? 4 episodes? The 4 phases? We're not done with this yet. The point is we're in the 4th. Because think about it. This is what we started off with, right? The body. Then we move to identity. Fancy term for being yourself, being authentic. Then you have leadership. Just to rewrite this up. Then we have cash flow. And the reason why we start off with this is because your body gives you the energy and discipline that's needed. It teaches you the work that works. And by the way, the biggest differentiator amongst people in business is not knowledge. It's not comprehension of material. You want to know what it is? It's energy. That's the biggest difference, because most people make decisions out of weakness because they're like, I don't want this to go bad. I'm scared of this risk, because energy is the greatest differentiator. And that's why building your body is one of the greatest things you can do for cash flow. An identity that gets cultivated from achieving that type of energy and that type of physique and power and presence. This helps you gain clarity on who you are and what you can actually deliver on. And take it a step further, what you stand for, because now you have an identity in your own standard that you know is yours and nobody else's. And that makes it very clear for you to be clear and have clarity over what the hell matters to me. And then your leadership is what creates the value, because your presence is that of value. By you just showing up and being yourself, your presence is valuable. That's what makes this part a lot easier, because guess what? Now we're in the cash flow section where we already went over skills, we went over problem, we went over, and by the way, I know I'm pointing to nothing, but you get what I'm saying. To serve people with an offer, and that's going to give you your cash flow. And you can now see how you are now ready to absolutely maul everyone, because you're willing to build your foundation so much more correctly, soundly. And guess what? You weren't thinking, how do I circumvent time? By doubling down on this and going as quickly as possible. By then having this come by osmosis. By this just becoming a natural part of who you are. And now you are just ready to just grab dollars, because you're operating from such a different place. You're aiming to actually help people's lives, because you know the side effect of helping people, and as many people as you possibly can on earth, which is going to give you more cash than you know what to do with. And you're going to do it in a way that's not compromising your soul. Matter of fact, it will enhance. Because once this is in place, cash flow becomes the side effect of who you are. You know how much more fun that is than trying to hack systems and being like, how do I get something that I'm undeserving of? You're just deserving of it because it's who you are. It makes it so much easier when you follow this line, because people pay for 3 things when you're this type of guy. Number 1, they want certainty. I know that's spelled awful, but that's certainty, believe it or not, even though it doesn't look like certainty. Number 2, clarity. Because if you can allow someone's mind to finally open up to where they can hear their own voice and they trust it, obviously that's considered a huge value. And number 3, courage. And a lot of times it's giving them courage to be themselves and to do what they want to do through your product or your service. This is what people pay for. You want to know why? Because leadership produces all 3 of these. That's what leadership provides. It provides certainty for people, it gives clarity to people, and it gives people courage. That's what leadership does. And then cash flow just simply gives you the reward for doing all 3 of these things. That's the reward. That is the internal moving to the external. But let's be real. Like I said earlier, you probably work harder than most people. You probably are smarter than a lot of people that might make more money than you. Take it even a step further. You probably have more talent, intelligence, and energy than the people that are making more than you. And you want to know why? Because the market doesn't give a shit about those things. Money doesn't give a shit about that. And truthfully, it has little to do with them even being better than you. They have just connected their value to cash flow. They've allowed that skill to unlock better than you have. That's all making money is it's a skill. Learning how to deliver that skill is a skill in itself. And they have learned to stand in a line where money flows while you're sitting there just hoping to be recognized. And that's kind of the biggest difference. Is you can't expect anyone to deliver this thing. I think everyone expects to be saved, or like, there's just going to be this thing that happens and then everything's going to get fixed. Like, no, you have to go assert your value into the world. response. Even though I'm not a huge fan of this word, you need it right now. Now, what's great about this is it actually breaks it down pretty simply as well. Most men secretly want to get paid for existing, but that's hardly how this shit works. I show up, I put in the hours, I'm loyal. Unfortunately, not very many people really give a shit about that in the real world. We're talking about regular people going through life. The market, what it pays for truthfully in its most distilled form, not connecting it to leadership, we're talking about purely the exchange of value and how you can think of this to even make it much more simple and straightforward for you. Results and problems removed. Simply put, that's what they're paying you for. They're paying you for a specific result that they want, like this tripod. The result that I want is what? I want it to stay there and record me. The problem that it's removed is that now I have a videographer that isn't a human being, right? I don't need a human to record me. So that's why I paid for something like a tripod. It's very, very simple once you actually just start to break this stuff down. And the shift that should happen once this starts entering in your mind, what should have gone off is going from, and this is how I used to think myself, so don't feel bad, I worked hard to, I feel like that really wasn't necessary to write out, but this is kind of important, otherwise I wouldn't have wrote this down. I worked hard no longer matters because I can work as hard as humanly possible. If something didn't get objectively better because I touched it, then it doesn't matter. No one cares, and this is just the unfortunate truth of the world. And this is actually what I love about business, and actually what I love about content. It's merit-based. If you are good, you will get paid in business. If you are not good, you will not get paid. People can try to hack systems and stuff, and that's when you see a lot of scam people and just people just selling bullshit, right? Truth is like this is what's really conflated people's minds, and they go after the shiny object syndrome. What you don't realize is that game runs quick. They don't even end up doing anything special in their life. They end up going broke. And that's the thing is like, to me, I want to get paid for who I am for the rest of my life because this is just who I am. How much easier it is for me to show up and just be me and get paid for it. That doesn't just happen through content. That happens through business. It's just the way you know how to handle problems, who you are and who you show up as every single day. You get paid for those things because you're that guy. You're not pretending. You're not trying to hack. You're not worried about, oh, dude, if I'm... You know, like a lot of people that do drop shipping, no shade, do whatever you want. I'm not your dad. But the problem is like if there's a product that then just kind of fizzles out, then they're always constantly looking for the next one. It's just like, that to me is just, that's soulless. That's soulless. I want to make sure that I'm actually providing a value, even if it's something as stupid as the tripod I'm recording on, that I keep using as an example. At least he's helping. The point is, it doesn't really matter because the results and problem removed. Did something objectively get better because I touched it? The guy who made this, yes. He made my recording situation objectively better. Easy. With that said, we're gonna have a simple cash flow action plan, okay? Even though I don't know why I'm erasing this, because I'm gonna have to rewrite it anyways, but we're coming back to it with outcome, strength, and responsibility. But I wanted to write that down so I remembered, even myself, because what I'm gonna do is give you a challenge for you to actually get started today. Not 2 days from now, not whatever. We're here to change shit up right now, okay? Simple cash flow action plan. All right, this is what we're gonna do. Number one, where do I... All right. Well, that sucks because I actually been talking to myself for about the last 15 minutes and I ran out of storage. But what a great timing on that. Remember I told you no one gives a shit? You guys don't give a shit, let's be real. You're like, yeah, just keep wrapping it up. I don't really care what happened. Talked for 20 minutes, wrote out all this stuff, and it was for nothing. But guess what I have to do? I have to do it again because this is the best way I know how to move forward. So it's a great example, but this is gonna be your simple cash flow action plan. This is your 48-hour cash flow challenge, and what I'm gonna ask you to do is write down 3 things. Where do I create outcomes now? Meaning, where do things improve when you show up in your life? This isn't about fantasy. Don't be delusional about where your feet are at. I'm delusional about the future and what I can make happen. But make no mistake, I used to be delusional about who I was. And just being unapologetically, objectively honest about what you're good at and what you suck at is going to allow you to move so much faster than you actually are versus limiting your growth. That is why you've been feeling stagnant for the last few years. Realistically, nothing has moved much is because you can't come to terms with reality. But your reality now doesn't have to be forever. And you lying to yourself and putting these make-believe, feel-good lies in front of you just to get yourself to kind of skate on by is not doing yourself any favors. So, where do things improve when you show up? Where do I create outcomes now? Number 2, this is the important part, and that's why I mentioned it, is I wanted to pre-frame this. Where am I currently strong? Meaning, I want you to circle the one area you are strongest in. You obviously don't have just one modality of strength. There's a lot of things you're probably great at. I want you to write down where you're currently, as of today, where you're strongest at. And what I want you to do is legitimately circle the one area, and I want you to do it on a pen and paper or a whiteboard like class. I mean, it's honestly worth it. I like this thing. But I want you to circle the one area that you know you are strongest in because that's your unfair advantage. This is what you're naturally great at. This is you leaning into obvious gifts. I'm telling you this right now. Number 3, where can I take on more responsibility? How can I take more responsibility there? Meaning, that could be ownership at work, that could be more leadership with clients, that could be more skin in the game. In so many words, we're talking about taking initiative in solving real problems. Real problems. Let me tell you something about real problems. The bigger the problems you're solving, the problems I want you to look to solve are the ones that everyone's like, ew, get that one away from me. Oh, that one looks too tough. That is your moment to pounce. That is where you shine. That is where you take the initiative and you assert yourself into that problem. I'll take care of it. I don't care if it's at work, in your family life, it doesn't matter. Those problems are the ones that pay you the most because they're problems no one else wants to solve, but they want solved for them. That's what makes it valuable. Whenever you are coming across a problem that you're like, this is impossible, this is going to require everything out of me, good. That's your sign that you're probably on a track to where it's like, hey, probably the size of these problems, if no one else is willing to solve these problems, but they're actually problems for everybody, that's the magic. That's the moneymaker because you're actually solving a problem that people need solved, but don't have the patience, the ability, the intellect, the energy, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is they ain't doing it. And that is your time to go in and be like, hey, this is my time. And make a habit out of it. But what I want to tell you is that is your 48-hour cash flow challenge. If you do this, you're going to start looking at things from such a different lens. I promise you. Speaking of, dude, like, here's an example. Speaking of, dude, my hair needs to get cut, honestly. My goodness. Talk about where could I create outcomes now? For me, I knew that from a content perspective. I had to ask myself these same exact questions once I kept trying and failing. I used to work for corporate companies. I'd do great with them. But whenever it came to my own thing, I was just like, why can't I figure it out? It's because I was trying to hack the game. I was trying to hack the system. Where do I create outcomes now? At that time, it was like, well, in the gym, I'm always helping people out. Fitness, diet, I was always helping people out with these things. How do you have so much energy? How do you do this? You know, communication, stuff like that. But I knew that the biggest problem in the market and where the biggest demand was, where people were like, I really want a way of doing this, was basically how do I get into a type of shape that people are like, what the hell? But also I don't want fitness to be my entire personality nor my entire life. I solved that for myself. And I know that there are so many people that would care to have that happen to them. And so that's how I knew, where do things improve when you show up? When I show up for people for their health. When I show up inside the gym. When I show up for people and help them, I take their call and I answer their questions and their problems. Hey, dude, I'm kind of struggling with this, X, Y, and Z with fitness and health. Boom. Where am I currently strong? Clearly in my knowledge for this thing. Not just the biceps, okay? But I'm talking about how I'm able to explain how to get bigger biceps. How to lose a lot of body fat, how to stay at very, very low body fats year-round while eating like an absolute animal, while eating at 3 a.m. Those are things that I do that people are like, I've never seen this before. So I know that that's where I'm currently strong, is I know how to do it in a way that's actually enhancing your life. You know, it's not taking away from your life. Where most people that are in great shape, they live in these cages. For me, I live more free as a result. That's the whole point. And 3, where can I take on more responsibility? Well, truthfully, it was me posting content. Maybe I should put it upon myself to be like, you know something, I'm going to post content. I'm going to start doing it every single day. And I'm going to help people. I want my pages to be something that they can spam through and get into phenomenal shape just from my content. And I want you to remember what I told you. Do you remember what I told you from the very beginning? From episode 1, from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3 to phase 4 cash flow. Because this whole thing that I'm about to share with you is a waterfall. And by the way, you see this question mark? This is what the final episode's going to be about, and that's the mission. Because it's a waterfall. All of these things will come downhill. Once you have to ascend, step by step, you have to ascend. But once you reach this whole thing acts as a waterfall. Everything falls in place. You don't have to think about any of this stuff because this is a side effect of you reaching this. Life becomes automatic. You start operating in pure autopilot mode to where your default setting is winning. And understand you had to take each one of these steps to get here, which we'll discuss in the next episode. But your body built the energy and the discipline and the devotion required to reach your natural potential. That's why I'm anti-steroids. That's why I'm anti-MyFitnessPal. I'm anti anything that neuters your spirit. Anything. And honestly, using these apps is neutering your spirit as much as steroids do. People know steroids are bad because it's bad for your health, but there ain't nothing wrong with downloading an app. Yeah, there is for this. Your instinct. Here's the difference. You can use these things as tools with MyFitnessPal and such, but when you start leaning on it to basically provide any sort of thought process that you don't even have to decipher from, you defeat the entire purpose because you're going to achieve an identity that is you. Clarity over what matters, clarity over who you are. And once you have that, you start to trust yourself. And as a result, people can sense that trust. And leadership will provide you that trust from not just yourself, because that's how it starts, but from everyone else around you. And then cash flow gives you options. You now are a lot more free. That's what money buys you. Money buys you freedom and flexibility. But make no mistake, because now what you get to do is fund the mission. And the mission is what gives you your direction. It is the ultimate form of masculine expression because it's purpose, it's drive, it's everything beyond you. That's what makes it such a beautiful thing. And that is why every man owes it to himself to devote himself to something beyond himself and how he feels. That's why I have people looks maxing out here, just self-worship, versus the mission is about everybody else and everything else. The mission comes before anyone. And what's great is because when it comes downstream, money starts to flow with you. You stop thinking, how am I going to survive this month? How am I going to get by? And you just start waking up telling yourself, how do I move the mission forward? How far can I take this today? And it's a much different modality and all of these things that everyone's after. People are after the fitness. Oh, I want to be the health guy. People are after this. Oh, I want to be looked at like, oh yeah, dude, like I got status, I got clout. Leadership. People want to just be worshipped. Cash flow. People want to just think that, oh, if I have money, then people will respect me. Do you see how you get these things on complete accident because you don't give a shit about them, because you know that this is the thing you're devoting your life to? Everything. It means more to you than anything. And sure as hell, it means way more to you than your well-being. How am I feeling today? Oh, I don't feel like it today. When you're mission-oriented, all of these things come downhill and act as a waterfall. And it just flows. It becomes literally one entire integration system to where you no longer are thinking about how do I get all these different things. It just flows. It becomes who you are. It becomes your day-to-day. It becomes who you've always wanted to become and who you actually are. And before we move over to the final phase, phase 5, episode 5, I'm going to tell you again, sign up to the Crusadia waitlist down below. This is the process that we have. The way that we have it is you have your 55-day crusade, and then we call it the muscle to cash flow, taking your muscle and turning it into cash flow. And then we have a black label, which is only private invitation only. That's when we talk about people that have reached the pinnacle of life, private group, and that's just how we like to do it. Nonetheless, you can't be a part of it unless you sign up to the waitlist down below. The waitlist is the only way you are allowed to enter Crusadia. No waitlist, no entry. It is impossible. I have people always asking me, is there any way I could just sign up? No, you cannot, because we have a process. This is how we do things. And we make sure that everyone comes in at once. But for signing up to the wait list, we're different than most. We don't just have you sign up to a wait list and wait. We're going to give you 3 gifts from us inside Crusadia to you watching this video. Whoever decides to sign up to that wait list. You get the superhero program, which is actually exclusive to my coaching clients, my first ever coaching clients. Number 2, the Jack Mobility Initiation Guide. And number 3, the Outliers First Strike. Understand something, that's what you get for just signing up. It's a primer. The goal with this is to make sure that by the time you enter Crusadia, you hit the ground running. Understand also, if you're on the wait list, you can only sign up for the final 72 hours of every month. That's how we have it situated. But when you sign up to the wait list, you get emails from us, exclusive emails with cool stuff. You get some voice notes. You get a lot of exclusive things for being on the wait list. But you also get the opportunity to have a private Q&A with me where I do this Fireplace Friday. It's a lot of fun. It's not something I like to talk about very often, but that's what I like to do. Nonetheless, the only way you can get inside and have access to all this stuff is if you sign up to the wait list. So that is your first step. Once you do that, like I said, you'll be kept up to date on everything when we open, how everything looks, what it actually entails, all of it. And like I said, that's the whole point of having these waitlist deliverables, is that way you can, by the time you enter Crusadia, you hit the ground running, ready to go into an all-out sprint. Anyways, in the next episode, we are going to go into the final phase. The mission, the thing that every man wants in his life, but is too scared to admit to himself. Something worth dying for, something worth fighting for, and something worth living for every single day. And something that makes cash flow a tool versus the thing you worship. And I'm going to show you exactly why you have felt restless all of your life, even when things were fine on paper, and how a man with a real mission becomes impossible to beat, and one that is truly unstoppable and sets a standard that is undeniable. I'll see you in phase 5. I'll talk to you soon, my brothers.